Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I have no idea when you're seeing this video. I haven't uploaded anything in, I think, a year at the time that I'm recording this. But it's a video I really wanted to make, so I figured, why not? And it will get edited when it gets edited. If you're keeping track at this point in time, I have one semi-functioning hand and one still waiting to be operated on. So I'm not quite back at the stage where I can just be doing whatever I want, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to get this edited at some point because it's a video I've been planning for quite a while. And I had some free time today, and I figured, why not? Even if it has to sit on my computer for a while, at least it's recorded, or at least most of it, because I'm not going to be able to finish it in one sitting, but we'll do what we can. Anyway, today's video is another tier maker. You know how much I love a tier list, and today we are ranking every episode of the Librarians TV series from 2014. We're just doing the original series now. I do want to do a video for the next chapter because I have watched it and I do really like it. But I figured I might as well wait until there's more episodes because we know there's definitely a second season coming. It's already been filmed, so I might as well hold off and wait and see how it goes. But today we're going to be ranking every episode of The Librarians. I have been rewatching the series in preparation for this video, and I've got 4 episodes left to watch. But since I had time today, I figured I might as well get the first 38 done, and I'll tack on the last 4 when I have time. So we're going to be ranking all the episodes. If you've seen my channel before, you know I'm a huge fan of Librarians. It's one of my favourite TV shows of all time. I always say that The Librarians feels like if you put my brain into a machine and told it to make the perfect TV show for me, it would spit out The Librarians because it really does feel like a show that was made for me. It just is so, it's all my favorite tropes, my exact kind of humor, characters that I love, a really great ship. Like, it's just got everything that I want in a TV show. It's wacky, it's magic, it's silly, it's got mythology. It's everything that I want in a TV show. So that said, it makes it kind of hard to do a tier list because there isn't actually an episode of The Librarians that I dislike, genuinely. When I did my tier list for Charmed, like Charmed has been one of my top favorite, my favorite TV show since I was like 4 years old. But even then, there's episodes of that show that I don't like. There's episodes where I'm like, this episode sucked. Um, but I don't have that opinion about any episode of The Librarians. There's not a single episode of this show that I think is actually bad. I don't think there's an episode I would ever skip, like, because every episode, even the ones that I like less, still have parts of them that I enjoy. Like, there's always such good, like, characters, banter, and there's always something to enjoy in every episode of this show, so there's none that I actually think suck. So it is going to be, this is probably going to be like a sickeningly positive um tier list. And if you're someone who, for whatever reason, isn't such a huge fan of Librarians and you're here to watch me roast it, that's not going to happen because I love this show. But there is episodes that I think are worse than others. So we're going to be ranking them. And I'm going to tell you all of my thoughts. So let's have a look at our tier lists. At the top, we have "and the tier of God." You can tell that I've gone for the episode title structure for my tiers. "And the tier of God," self-explanatory, God tier, my favorite episodes. When I was rewatching them, I was making little like notes on my phone to help me when I'm doing this, and I was ranking each episode out of 10. So this would be my 10 out of 10 episodes, my favorite episodes, the ones that I think are brilliant. Then we have "and the practically perfect," the ones that are so close to God tier but just don't quite make it. We're talking like 9 out of 10. Really still like super strong episodes, but just a touch off of the top spot. Just couldn't quite get them into that tier, but I still think that they are very, very good. Then we have "and the lots of fun," episodes that maybe aren't quite brilliant, they're maybe not changing the world, but they're really fun and I'm having a good time and I'm glad that they're there. Then we have "and the mid of mid." This is for your, not bad, but like middle of the road. Okay, I get it, I respect it, we're having a good time, but we're not, it's probably not one that I would like. I probably wouldn't wake up one day and be like, you know what I'm really in the mood for? These episodes. Probably not going to be that. Then we have "in some episode named this is for the ones where I'm kind of like, I don't really know what we were going for here. Like, I don't hate it, but like, don't really know where, why, just not maybe just not the best. Just kind of like, usually ones where the plot is like kind of a bit, even for me, I'm a bit like, what were we doing? And then we have And the Pits of Hell. Like I said, there isn't actually anything that I would ever say is so bad that I would be like, deserves to go to hell. It should, for Charms, my bottom tier was Vanquish to the Underworld. I wouldn't actually banish any of these episodes to the Pits of Hell, but I needed a bottom tier. So I have got episodes that are going to go in there, but again, just bear in mind that I don't actually hate them as much as that tier would suggest. Dean Devlin, if you're watching, I don't feel that way. Okay, enough waffle. Let's get into it. I'm gonna pull up my notes for some reference, and if because some of them I have written some like hilarious. Well, I say I'm hilarious, but like I've written down like I don't mean I'm hilarious. I mean I've written down like hilarious lines and stuff like that, like in my notes. So we'll use it for reference. Let's get into it. These are not in order, but thankfully they have numbered them, so that does help. Okay, so season 1, episode 1, and the Crown of King Arthur. I'm gonna put I'm gonna put The Crown of King Arthur into practically perfect because I always say that making the first episode of a TV show, writing the first episode, is so difficult. It's such a hard thing to do. You have to introduce all the characters, you have to introduce the lore, you have to, try and set up what the show is going to be, but like also not do so much exposition dump that the episode just becomes really boring. It's just people telling you what you need to know. It's a really difficult thing to get right. It's like writing the opening chapter of a book. It is a very, very, it's difficult and it's a very specific skill. And they had the extra challenge in this of trying to bridge the gap between the Librarian movies and the Librarians TV show. So we need to meet the new characters, but we also need to understand, if you haven't seen the movies, which I never have, I have to actually admit I've never seen the Librarian movies. I will watch them one day, but I've never seen them. So if you're like me and you're coming in blind, they need to be able to explain to you what the library is, who Flynn is, who Charlene is, who Judson is, what the rules are, what everything, what we're dealing with, and also introduce all of our new characters and start building up the plot for the season. They had a huge challenge in their hands with making the first episode of this show, and it's a really good episode. It's really strong, and it had me hooked. Literally from the first 5 minutes when Eve goes into that tunnel and meets Flynn for the first time, I was hooked. And that doesn't happen very often in TV shows. Usually TV shows, it takes a couple of episodes. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll give it a few more episodes, see if it goes somewhere. No. 5 minutes into this show, I was like, I'm here for it. I'm sold. I'm on board. I'm in for the long haul. So they did a really good job. I'm not gonna give it tier of God because I think there were better episodes, but I think as episodes go, they did a really good job with this one. Episode 2, and the Sword and the Stone. I'm gonna give it lots of fun. I don't think it's as strong as the first episode, but it is still very good. I hate Cassandra turning on them, even though I think it makes perfect sense. It's so understandable considering her situation, but it always makes me feel kind of uncomfortable because I'm like, I know what a good person Cassandra is. That it's like, and anytime I try and introduce someone to this series, I'm like, please don't turn on Cassandra because of what happens at the end of the first episode. Please, please, please. Because I love Cassandra so much and I don't want anyone to ever see her in a bad light. But I think she does redeem herself at the end, with the whole Cal, and she gives the sword to Flynn and saves his life. It's still a really good episode. Um, I just think it's not as strong as the first one, but it is really good. My note for this one was leverage if it slays. Because it's when they go to Buckingham Palace and they have to like try and get in to like steal the artifact. What was it, the sword? I can't even remember. And I was just like laughing when I was watching it, like on my rewatch, because I was just like, this is literally just Dean Devlin writing an episode of Leverage with magic. That's it. It's the same thing. I'm watching Christian Kane trying to break into a place. I'm like, we're doing leverage. Leverage if it's slayed. No, I'm joking. Leverage does slay, but leverage would be better if it had magic, and that's what the Librarians is. So Number episode 3 and the Horns of a Dilemma. My only note for this is how many ways can I mean human skulls? And I think that sums up. I honestly think, like, if there was a thesis statement for this show, like if I was to sum up the whole show in one line of dialogue, just like one thing to really capture this whole show in a nutshell, it would be how many ways can I mean human skulls? It is such a perfect moment. And I think for me, like, this was the moment that I knew, like, oh, like I say, I was captured from the first episode, but this was really when I was like, yeah, like that show is perfect. That show is so, so good. Was on the phone, it's like, that is weird. You know what we just found? A room full of human skulls. What do you mean human skulls? These human skulls. It is, I think as well, like this is the first episode where we're moving away from the librarian. Flynn's gone. We've not got Charlene. We've not got Judson. We're not doing we've bridged the gap between the movies and the show, and we're now doing the show, just the show. And so this is like the first time that we're getting out and seeing what the Librarians is without Flynn at the helm, and it's a really solid episode. It's really good. We've got Trisha Helfer from Battlestar Galactica being her normal queen self. The plot itself, I think, is a bit hokey. It's like, it's like there's the labyrinth of Greek myth is inside an office building and somewhere in corporate America, and they have to break in and find the magic thread to go through the labyrinth. And the labyrinth is like in 8 dimensions or something. The plot is kind of hokey, but it's a really solid episode. And I think particularly I love the scene with Cassandra and Ezekiel where she is so hard on herself about what happened in the previous episodes, and Ezekiel sits with her and says, like, the difference is that you came back and you saved Flynn. And he's like, if that had been me with a brain tumor, I would have let the world burn. I would never have done what you did. You're a good person. And I still don't understand. I didn't realize until I kind of got into the online fandom that there are a lot of people who don't like Ezekiel. And, like, I mean, I get it because on the surface it's like he's egotistical and, very self absorbed. But, like, this is the third episode in, and he's literally sitting with Cassandra trying to build up her confidence and make her see herself how he sees her. Ezekiel from the start was a good person. He just hides it under a bravado. I love Ezekiel. I would die for Ezekiel Jones. I would die for any of them, but I would die for Ezekiel Jones in particular. And I love that scene with him and Cassandra. I love their friendship. You will see as we go through this how obsessed I am with the friendship between Cass and Ezekiel. But I think that scene really is so powerful. It's so good. And he goes in, he's like, I'll be your eyes. It's so good. It's so good. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give it practically perfect. I'm going to put it in lots of fun because that is what it is. It's lots of fun. I think it's a bit hokey, it's a bit silly, but it is such a good episode. It's so much fun, and I have a great time with it. Next up, we have and Santa's Midnight Run. There's only 2 Christmas episodes in The Librarians, but they both slay. I didn't mean that. Didn't mean the pun. Oh my god. Santa slays. Yeah, they both are really good. Santa's Midnight Run is so ridiculous that it like loops back around to being funny. We have Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead as Santa Claus, which is just some of the best casting I've ever seen. Santa's like cannot be arsed, and he's on a road trip with Eve because they need to go and try and get the sleigh. And yeah, my note for this is it's so utterly ridiculous it becomes fantastic. It is such a bonkers episode. Jacob trying to do like the worst Cockney accent you've ever heard at the pub. The whole episode is chaos. It's pure chaos. And then they're all on a plane at the end, like it's that bit from Uncharted 3, and then Eve has to like use Santa's magic to like jump around the world and restore Christmas joy. It's so silly, but it's great. It really is. I'm gonna give it lots of fun. It is a real laugh. I enjoy it. Episodes Season 1, episode 5. and the Apple of Discord. The Apple of Discord is great. It's going straight into practically perfect. Evil Lindy Booth is one of the best things I have ever seen. Like, I love Lindy Booth. I discovered her many years ago in one of her many, many Christmas movies. It's called Christmas Magic. She plays a girl who is in a car accident and then becomes an angel and has to fix this guy's pizza. No, not pizza, just a restaurant. A guy's restaurant where he serves chicken picante that no one likes. Um, she has to fix his restaurant in time for Christmas to restore his faith in Christmas. Um, it's cheesy, it's great. But that's where I discovered Lindy, and I love her in this show so much. But evil Lindy Booth, she's like Harley Quinn. Like, I want to see her as Harley Quinn. She does it so well. It's so hammy and funny. It's great. And also Evil Flynn, which isn't even really evil, it's just Flynn if he didn't have any form of self-awareness. He's just off on one, he is talking complete nonsense, he's just like walking around like, I'm the librarian and I'm so amazing, and he walks in, oh god, yeah, and Ezekiel hosting the conclave by accident, which is also hilarious because of all people to host a conclave, and we get to see him and Jenkins and their banter because those two just so clearly can't stand each other most of the time. Um, and then Flynn walks in and starts like macho bravadoing it, and then suddenly the apple wears off, and he's like, yeah, but what if we just like sat down and had a conversation? I love it. Just whatever the hell Flynn has going on in this episode, I'm here for it. I say it, I'm going to say it like 40 times throughout this video, but we need to give Noah Wiley more comedic roles. I know he loves the drama. I know he loves trekking across America, hunting for aliens. He loves working in the most depressing hospital drama you've ever seen. But I need him to do comedy, and I need it expeditiously. We need to get him back into comedic roles. I'm not saying we need to take the pit off him. I'm just saying that when the pit finally reaches its natural conclusion, we need to get him into a comedy because he is hysterical when he does comedy, and this episode is a perfect example of that. Episode 6 and the Fables of Doom. This is the one where the fairy tales come to life. Eve becomes Cinderella, uh, Cass becomes Prince Charming, Jacob is the axe guy, what do you call him, from like Little Red Riding Hood, the one that like axes the wolf to get red out of his stomach. And Ezekiel doesn't become anything, if I remember right, because he's like immune to it. This happens a lot with Ezekiel because it happens in the previous episode as well. He isn't affected by the apple of discord because he's already the worst version of himself. But then it happens again in this episode directly after. I know that the first season, the episodes as they aired were not how they were originally written, which is why like Cass and Jacob's feud seems to come and go depending on the episode because the episodes are out of order. It doesn't really matter, but like you can notice it when you watch it that like this episode, their feud, Cass and Jacob's feud comes up in this episode, which is episode 6 because it was supposed to be episode 3. Or it was either meant to be episode 3 or 4. I think it was 4, and they moved it because they wanted to move the Christmas episode up. So it would have made more sense for their feud to be earlier in the season, but it got moved further back, and it does feel odd. So I do think in some ways that like it's probably that because the same thing happens in the 4th season. We'll get to it. So it does feel kind of weird having these two episodes back to back that have like the plot twist of like Ezekiel, nothing happens to Ezekiel because he is who he is. But it happens again in this one. But it's a really fun episode. The fairy tales come to life. Cass as Prince Charming with all the women following her through the city is just so good. Cass is like understated bisexuality throughout the series. Like they never make anything of it. They never make a big deal of it. It's never even like said out loud. No one ever mentions the fact that Cass is bisexual, but she is. And it's obvious, but it's not made no one makes a thing of it because you shouldn't have to, because she just is who she is. But you can tell in this episode because she is very happy to have all the women following her, and I'm happy for her. She deserves it. Yeah, my note for this one was Prince Charming Cassandra can marry me any day, and it's true. She can. She can. I'm gonna give it lots of fun. Number 7. Okay, we've got our first mid of mid. Uh, yeah, uh, episode 7, season 1, episode 7, and the rule of three. I'm putting it in mid of mid. That is the one with the science fair, and it's not that I dislike it, I don't. But I just think it's not as strong as the others in season 1. I think it's definitely one of the weaker episodes of the season. The twist that it's Morgan Le Fay that's been hosting the science fair is it's a fun twist, especially because it links into the whole Arthurian thing that goes on in season 1. We've got Lancelot, Dulac, we've got Galahad, who's Jenkins, and then of course we have Morgan Le Fay. It makes sense, but it I don't know. I don't know. This episode just doesn't hit as much for me. I do. There's definitely aspects of it I like. I like Cassandra bonding with Amy, the science girl, and she gets to talk about her past and how her parents basically, once they realized that her brain tumor would mean that she was never going to be able to achieve what they wanted her to achieve because she was going to die young, they basically gave up on her. And she never. Now she has all this kind of pain when she looks back on like having been such a kind of child prodigy, and now she's like just a grown up who's destined to die. And then she's sad because she lost all of her science trophies. So then at the end, Ezekiel steals her a science trophy and gives it to her, which is so cute. I love them. It's a fun episode, but it's just not. I don't think it's the strongest. Like unleashing like a plague of bees on the science fair, like, and oh, we think it's this person, but it's not. They're just a goth. Like, it's fine. It's fine. It's just, but that is it. It's very much. It's like it's fine. It's not my fave. It's just fine. Episode 8 and The Heart of Darkness. Practically perfect. My note for this show took itself seriously exactly once and it was amazing. That's not entirely true because it does take itself seriously at other points, but this is the only one in season 1 that ever actually kind of. It's the only time where the myth part of it is kind of serious. Like, there's definitely like personal stuff that is serious later on, but like even like talk about like what lies beneath the stones as like one of their more serious episodes, but like it also has these clone people that's faces go into like the Joker mask. Like it's still silly. Heart of Darkness is not funny. It's the only comedic part of it is like when Ezekiel gets trapped in the room where all he does is like sit and eat chicken and play video games, and Jake's like trying to get the door open. Other than that, the episode isn't really comedic. It takes itself very seriously for the librarians, and I don't think they ever have an episode that actually takes itself that seriously again. And it's a horror. Like the episode is scary. I remember I watched it the first time I watched it. I was house sitting for my dad, so I was alone in a house that was not my own. Where I don't feel as comfortable because I don't know the neighbors, and it's not my safe space. And I'm watching this episode that's actually quite creepy, and I was like, this was a bad choice. Um, but it's great, and I think truly one of the best moments of the entire season, the entire show actually, is Cassandra at the end when she's like, "You're not death. I know death. I see her every time I look in the mirror, and she doesn't look like you. She looks like me." That is one of the most powerful moments of the entire series. It is so good. Give Lindy Booth an Emmy. It's brilliant. And the whole twist of like they think that they're saving this poor girl, but she's actually the one that's controlling the house, and she's one of the Benders. I love the Benders episode of Supernatural. I know no one else does. Season 1 of Supernatural, inject it into my veins. I love it. I love season 1, and I love the Benders episode. We need to do more with the bloody Benders. Like they're such a great piece of like history to use. Yeah, and to find out like she's not, it's the bit where like they go down to the water, and it like misspeaks, and then Cass is like, what are you talking about? And then it's like, oh, oh well, and then just like reveals herself as being like this demon thing. It's so good. It's so good. I didn't see the twist coming the first time I watched it, so that was really good. Obviously it loses something on rewatch when you know, but the first time you watch it and you don't know that she's the villain, it is a very good twist. It works very well. Okay, and the City of Light, I'm gonna put it in some episode named there's nothing especially wrong with this episode. It's just that I think it is one of the more boring episodes of the whole show. The plot is basically there's this town, and like there's people who were in some kind of there was like some kind of Nikolai Tesla experiment that caused them all to become trapped in this like void between life and death, or like they're like exist on like a different plane of existence in this kind of limbo space, and like they have to keep the gas lamps on to keep them alive because they're like connected to like the field of the gas lamps or something, and they can possess people. So like people keep like waking up with like no memory of like the past like 2 weeks of their life, and it's because they've been possessed by these ghosts from like 100 years ago. But then there's this one girl who's the town archivist, but she is one of the ghost people, but she has human form. And then Jacob falls in love with her, and then she has to try and save the town, and she dies, and then he's sad about it because they didn't get to go to Paris. And I don't care because I'm so sorry, but I never care. Jacob falls in love with various girls over the series, and I don't care about any of them. Um, I'm so sorry. I don't care about Jacob and his like endless quest for love. The most interesting part of this episode is like they have this moral dilemma about should they try and free the gas lamp people if it would mean that it risks the lives of the people who are actually still alive in the town. Like whose life, if they are in the gas lamps and they are still sentient beings, then their lives are just as important as the people in the town. But then are the people in the town not more deserving to stay alive because they are actually alive in human form, whereas these people exist in this like liminal space between. It's an interesting conundrum that they get into, but overall, I just think the episode is not that strong, personally. And I don't care about the fact that Jacob and that girl didn't get to go to Paris. He knew her for like 3 hours. I don't care. Okay, we have our first 10 out of 10, one of my favorite episodes of the whole series. I don't know if I could pick a number one favorite episode because I have so many favorites, but I think if I had to pick like a top kind of like three, I would say that the Loom of Fate is in it. I love this episode. I love an alternate universe episode of anything. This always comes up. You see it in the Charmed countdown as well. Like my favorite episode of Charmed is Morality Bites, which is an alternate universe episode where they go to the future and see like alternate future versions of themselves. I also love like It's a Bad 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 World, which is an alternate universe. I love AU episodes of anything, and this one is so good. Eve goes through these like different futures, different timelines, basically, where each of the librarians is the only librarian, and a timeline where Flynn is not the librarian. So Flynn is just this professor, and he's hilarious. Again, Noah Wiley give him comedy. When he's down there, it's like he realizes that there's like a different version of him in like each timeline. He's like, if I met myself, would I explode? It's so funny. He is hilarious in this episode. But then we've got like the timeline where like Jacob is like dressed as Nathan Drake, quite literally dressed as Nathan Drake, and he's like the kind of like rough and tumble, like Nathan Drake style librarian, and he's in love with Eve, and he kisses her, and Eve's just like, nope, 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 nope. Paul Flynn's just like, I am Flynn. Then we've got the timeline where Ezekiel is a genius scientist guy, and he says that Eve is like a mother, and she's like, no. And then we've got the third timeline where Cassandra has become this sort of uh really all-powerful mage, and she's got this really deep voice, and she looks amazing. Like, oh my god, she looks gorgeous. She's got what's her face? What is her name? Labia? I can't keep calling her Labia. Her name is not Labia. Her name is Lamia. Okay. Yeah, I do also get the vibe that her and Lamia are lesbians. And we love to see it. But then as well the ending when like Jenkins is revealed to be Galahad, which means he's actually Dulac's son, which is a whole other kettle of fish. And then Eve almost dies because she dies in every timeline, and then Flynn has to try and save her, and I love it because I ship them into the stratosphere. And the library comes back. Of course, the library disappeared at the beginning of the season. The whole point of the season is we have to try and find the library and bring it back. And then it comes back, and it's like, yay! It's really good. I love this episode. It's brilliant. Okay, on to season 2. We have And the Drowned Book. I'm gonna put this one in lots of fun. I do think this episode's a good time. I think it's got some. I think the best part of this is like Flynn and just like his lines. Like Flynn has so many great moments in this episode. There's the bit where like they're like they're I can't remember what it is they're discussing. I can't remember what it is that has happened. But like Flynn comes in and he's like, "It's okay. It's nobody's fault. It's Eve's fault. But let's move on." And he's like, I can't even remember what it was, but I love that line. And then the bit where like they're opening all the different doors. I can't remember. They're looking for something, and they like open the door and they're like, "Hive of giant bees. Why do we even have that room?" It's so good. Um, but yeah, and then like the whole thing where like they go to the party and they meet this man, and then he's like all suave. I love him. Let's be serious. I love this. I can't remember the actor's name, but I love him. Um, but Flint assumes he's Sherlock Holmes and it's like, oh my god, you're Sherlock Holmes, I'm such a big fan, and then realizes he's not. He's actually Moriarty. Because the whole point of this season is that fictional characters are coming to life and trying to take over the world. Because Prospero from Shakespeare's whichever play has Prospero in it, he escaped from the play and he's now taking over the world. And he's got Moriarty out of Sherlock Holmes to help him, which, like, that is insane. Like, imagine them writing that down on paper. It's like, this is my pitch for season two. So Prospero escapes from Shakespeare's plays and then resurrects Moriarty out of Sherlock Holmes, and they try to take over the world with an army of fictional characters. And you'd be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then, like, Dean Devlin puts it down the table and goes, no, it's genius. And everyone's like, you know what? Hell yeah, you're right. Dean Devlin could write the most moronic thing in the world and still make it good. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how any of them do it in this show. Um, but yeah, I think this episode's like I think Moriarty I think is a great addition. I love him as a character. He really adds something to season two. Um but I think overall like it's not the strongest episodes, which is why I put it in lots of fun, but it is there's some really great moments. Especially with Flynn. Okay, episode two, I'm gonna put it in some episode named I swear I didn't remember anything about this episode. Um like most of these episodes I'd only seen the first time round. There was ones that I watched, like I watched the Christmas episodes at Christmas time. I've watched the Loom of Fate, but like, again because I really like it. But most of the episodes I only had seen once. So this was my second time watching on my rewatch. And most of them, like I remembered every episode of season one. I was like, I remember the Bender house. I remember Cassandra as Prince Charming. I remember the science fair. Like, I remembered all of season one. I put this episode on and I was like, I don't remember this episode at all. Like, it completely fallen out of my brain. Which is fun in a way, because it's like, oh, this is basically a new episode, because I don't remember anything about it. But I think there was a reason. It's because this episode's not very good. It's another one, the whole idea is like different fictional characters from like different books are coming to life because Prospero and whatever, and they go into like the actual part of the library that has actual fiction books, which I don't think we ever see that room again, but it's there. That's one of the things I love about the library is like you'll randomly see a room, like the one with all the candles that like tell you about how long your life is or whatever. Like we see that room in one episode, and you never see it again. Like they'll just build a room for an episode for a purpose, and then you'll just never see it again. If it's not the annex or the main room of the library, you're never going to see it again. Um, but yeah, there's a bit where the Frankenstein's monster comes to life, and they figure out like you have to defeat them like the way that you have to end like end their story basically. So they're like, all Frankenstein really wants is to be loved. So like Flynn gives him a hug, and then like they sign him up to Tinder so that he can find love. And I'm like, I feel like we may have gone off the deep end here. I feel like we may have gone bonkers. Um, I think we may have lost it. Um, there's still a lot of fun. There's still a lot of fun moments, but I was like, yeah, I do think that we may have gone crazy. Why are we signing Frankenstein's monster up to Tinder? This is insane. So not my favorite. Not my favorite. Okay. And What Lies Beneath the Stones? Practically perfect. I've got it as a 9 out of 10, and I'm trying to keep the top tier for just 10 out of 10. What Lies Beneath the Stones makes me so angry. Like, it's supposed to, but it makes me so angry for Jacob. Like, this man, his dad, is such a piece of shit. It makes me want to scream. Like, I was watching it and I felt like physically like I was wanted to be violent. I wanted to punch this man. And it's so funny to me because like this episode, I remember the first time I watched it. It has the exact same ending as the season 1 finale of Supernatural. So season 1 finale of Supernatural, there's like this moment, like obviously like Dean and Sam's dad has come back, John Winchester, and there's this bit where like John and Dean are standing in a room and John's like something something something, I'm proud of you, son. And Dean's like, my father wouldn't tell me he's proud of me. He'd tear me a new one. You're not my dad. And of course, it's the yellow-eyed demon who's taken on the form of John Winchester, and it's so sad because it's like the only reason that Dean realizes that this isn't his actual dad is because he said he's proud of him, and he knew that his dad would never tell him that he's proud of him. And it's the exact same ending in What Lies Beneath the Stones, because like it gives him a hug, and it's so sad because like Jake like reciprocates the hug because it's obvious that he's longed for that for probably his entire life. And even though he knows this isn't his dad, he's still like taking a moment to like enjoy what would be if this was his dad. But then he's like, my dad would never tell me that he loves me. He would die before he tells me that he loves me. You're not my dad. And it's not. It's one of the shapeshifters. Um it's really sad. And I'm like, this is the exact same plot, like the exact same scene exists in these two different shows. And I eat it up every time. I love it. I fall for it and I eat it up every time. You could do this to me in every TV show and I would still eat it up. Other great point in this episode is when they discovered that like you have to like tell secrets to like keep the door open. So then Cass is just like walking back and forward yelling like the most banal secrets at the door while Ezekiel is like trying not to kill himself in the background. It's a really strong episode. Um, yeah, but it makes me sad that I just want Jake to tell his dad the truth. I just want his dad. I don't care if his dad never accepts him. I just want him to know that actually Jacob is a genius. And I wish that that whole speech that he yelled at the fake dad, I wish he came back later and yelled it at the real dad. Because I wish everyone knew. It's so unfair that they don't know that Jake is a genius. It's so sad. Okay, episode 4 and the cost of education. I'm gonna put this one in lots of fun. My only note for this one in my notes is Stumpy. I think this episode it's a good time. I have to admit the girl does really piss me off. Miss like I discovered geomagnetic I don't know, I can't remember what she said, some science bullshit. And Cass is like, no, you're gonna like rip time space apart and like, you know, you're causing like demons to like come through space. And she's like, I don't care because I'm like good at science. And I'm like, girl, shut up. she she's one of the characters that like really annoys me. It's like one episode characters. Most of them I love, but I'm like, girl, no. But yeah, Jake and Ezekiel driving around in the go-kart buggy thing. Poor Stumpy braking breaks my heart. Um, it's yeah, I think it's a fun episode. It's not I don't say it's the strongest episode in the world, but I'm totally here for Stumpy. Episode 5 and the Hollow Men. I'm gonna give it practically perfect. I love Library, as I call him, Ray. Um, it's a really interesting episode. I couldn't remember. I could remember the episode, but I couldn't remember what the like outcome was. So I completely forgot that he was the library as a person, and like getting to see Flynn actually like be able to communicate with the library like properly instead of like obviously he can communicate with the library, but to actually be able to like have a conversation with the library was really powerful. And Ray is like such a sweet guy. Um, it's really lovely getting to see that, getting to see their bond and their connection. I really like it. I think it's really nice. And also the magical floats of Pan. That cracked me up. It's like, it's the magical floats of Pan. What? The magical floats of I love the thing is they bring them out at the tethering ceremony for music. And like you can't use the magical floats of Pan, they send people to sleep. Put those down. Yeah, I think this episode's really sweet. I love Library. Okay, episode 6 and the Infernal Contract. I'm gonna give it lots of fun, almost entirely because of Cassandra doing her like airhead heiress thing. Like her, my immediate, I called her in my thing in my notes Cassie St. Regis because she reminds me of Kristen Chenoweth as Lily St. Regis in the 1999 Annie movie. Um, I love a lot bucks. Like she's got that going on. She's got like the New York accent, and she's like, I like boats. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Boats, boats, boats. Um, so yeah, like almost entirely for that. But I think the episode is really strong. Like the episode where the bit where they all kind of like are fainting because of the gas, and then like Jenkins has to turn up because he's immortal, so he can save them. Um, the one part that I don't, well, it's got Anders from Battlestar Galactica, the Dark Lighter from Charmed. His actor's name, I know it, and it's went right out of my head. I love him. I love him in everything he's ever been in. He's great. But I do kind of like, I'm like, Eve, stop trusting this guy. Get away from him. He's so obviously lying to you. Um, oh, but we have John Delancey. John Delancey is like, what is he? Miss. I want to call him Mr. Mistopheles, but that's the cat from Cats. Mephisto? Mephistopheles? You know who I mean. John Delancey's in it. It's great. Oh my god, his name's on the tip of my tongue and I just can't get it. Sam Anders is in it. Michael Chucko. Thank you. Michael Chucko is great. John Delancey is great. It's a really fun episode. I like it. Okay, moving on since I've been talking way too long. This is a 10 out of 10. This is a favourite for me. And the image of Image. So the plot is that the gang find out that there's like an evil nightclub that is like stealing souls. And they go and it's like that one of these kind of like weird, like kind of goth punk futuristic nightclubs. So they all have to get dressed up. They all look incredible. Um honestly, like they all look great. And then Cass gets like really drunk, but like magically drunk at the bar, and she's hilarious. She's so funny. Um and I love it as well because it's like she's not even had anything to drink. She just and she's still drunk, and I'm like, that's me because I don't drink. I'm completely teetotal, but I'm like, that's me when I go out to the club and I'm just like, I'm probably dehydrated. And of course, the twist is that they find out that the club is actually run by Dorian Gray, and he uses. Now that, you know, we're now in the digital age, he is taking photos of people and putting them on a cloud and using that to keep himself young. Um, because we don't need paintings anymore. So he's stealing people's souls through the nightclub and uploading all their photos to the cloud and using it to stay young. It's great. I love this. We have an absolutely stellar run here because this one is also a 10 out of 10 for me, another tier of God, and it is The Point of Salvation. This is a fantastic episode. This is the episode where the group are stuck in a time loop at this sort of military base, I think. Um, and Ezekiel is the only one that knows that they're in a time loop. Everyone else forgets every time it resets, but he doesn't, and he doesn't know why. And he goes through and he keeps trying to find a way of getting out of the time loop, and he never does, and they end up dying in every single timeline, and it slowly but surely breaks Ezekiel because he basically spends like 100 straight days watching his friends die just like 100 times over, and it is completely destroying him. And then eventually they realize that the reason they can't get out is because it's not a time loop, it's a video game, and it's some kind of like projection thing where like a quantum computer, like because it was playing a video game, it like altered reality and turned reality into a video game. So Ezekiel's the only one that can get them out because he's the only one who plays video games. So like, well, him and Jake. So like he knows how to win the game. Um, but it's really nice because it's kind of one of the few episodes where Ezekiel gets to be the hero, and we get to see him for more than just being like the like annoying, you know, the guy who's like standing in the corner like making quips or like complaining or talking about how great he is. Like we actually get to see like a proper like heart in Ezekiel and how much he loves his friends and how desperate he is to try and save them, and how what a toll it took having to watch them die over and over and over again. And then at the end, he sacrifices himself to save all of them. And of course, he doesn't die because this is the Librarians. But yeah, it's great. And at the end, they may make it seem as if he doesn't remember any of it, and they're like, oh, and he's like, but yeah, of course I did all that because I'm Ezekiel Jones, and they're like, great, like you haven't learned anything from this experience. But I get the feeling that he did. I think he remembers all of it, but he just doesn't want them to see him any different. He just wants to be the Ezekiel that he's always been. So I think he remembers all of it, but he never mentions it again. But I'm sure he remembers. Again, we are on such a great streak because And Happily Ever After is also going into the tier of God. Again, this is an alternate universe episode, so it's not surprising that it's one of my favorites. This is the one where they go into like an alternate universe where the librarians all live in this like town together. Moriarty is the mayor, Eve is the sheriff, like Cass runs the bar slash library, Ezekiel works for the FBI field office, and Jake is, oh, he teaches like art history at the university. And Flynn is the only one who knows that this is all bollocks and that this is like a like an alternate reality. It's a dream sort of situation. It's not real. Um, but I put down, you might as well call this episode "The Librarian and the Psychological Breakdown" because Flynn is quite literally at his. He's a man on the edge throughout this whole episode because in this alternate universe, Eve is dating Moriarty, the mayor, and he like has to watch them kiss, and Flynn is like having a mental breakdown about this. He's like, no, 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 no mayor kissing. We can't be mayor kissing. Stop kissing him. You don't love him. You love me. And she's like, I don't even know who you are. And he's like, no. But it's so funny, and like I love their like alternate selves. And like they're so ridiculous. Like Sandra's like, oh yeah, like I run the bar slash library ever since I came back from the moon because I'm an astronaut. And Flynn's like, you know that that's ridiculous. Like there's no way you're an astronaut and you run a bar. And then like Ezekiel is like, there's no FBI field office in a small town. Why would you need one? That's not a thing. And they're like, no, that's just the way it is. And he's like, also, this episode has Ariel, who is like, I think the only Scottish character we ever had in the series. She's a Scottish fairy, and I love her. I love Ariel. I wish she'd been in it more, because she's great. I love her at the end. She's like, oh, true love's kiss. Stories often turn on true love. Old skill. I love her. She deserved more time. Um, I love this episode. And the ending where like the true love's kiss moment where like Flynn fixes Eve's memory by kissing her is one of my favorite Fleave moments of the whole series. So it's a 10 out of 10 episode for me. It's really good. And then we have not a 10 out of 10, but still a very strong episode for me. I'm going to put it in practically perfect. It is And the Final Curtain, and it's the episode where Flynn and Eve go back in time to when Shakespeare was alive. They meet Shakespeare, and they're trying to stop Prospero from taking over the world, basically, but they end up trapped in time. So the librarians are in the modern day, in the present day, with Jenkins trying to figure out how to bring Fleave back from Shakespeare time. And in Shakespeare time, these two are running around pretending that they're from Flanders, and that's why they've got weird accents, because they've got American accents in a time when America wasn't a thing and people didn't have American accents. They're like, oh, we're Flemish. And then Flynn's like, he wants to act in the play, but his acting's terrible. Again, I'm like, we need Noah Wiley to do more comedy. We need to give this man an Oscar right now. And then at the end, like, they end up trapped in time and they're like, oh, we're just gonna have to like stay in the past. And like, they're having this emotional moment where they're like saying goodbye to each other. And Ezekiel walks up to Flynn and is like, I still don't like you. And Flynn's like, likewise. But then Flynn and Eve get back to the present by turning themselves into a statue of them kissing for 400 years and locking themselves in a room in the library, which doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't need to. It's not important. It doesn't need to make sense. Nothing ever has, and it doesn't need to. Okay, on to season 3 now. We have season 3, episode 1, and the Rise of Chaos. This is also a 10 out of 10 episode for me. My first comment in this was I remember this episode of Doctor Who. Because it really does have a Doctor Who feel. I know the Librarians is heavily inspired by Doctor Who, but this episode feels like Doctor Who. But um this episode has one of my favorite moments of the entire series. It probably is my favorite moment of the entire series. I had it recorded on my phone for a while because I loved it so much and I just kept watching it on repeat. I think about it all the time. And it's the moment where they realize that the only way to defeat the bad guy is through harmony. And how are they going to show him that they are in harmony? And then suddenly it cuts, and well, Eve's like, no. And then suddenly it cuts to them coming through the door, and Flynn is doing finger clicks, and they are all singing Battle Hymn for the Republic. And it is the first time I watched that, I almost died laughing because it's so unexpected. But even on repeat, it's still funny. When you just suddenly hear the sound, then at the coming of the Lord, he is chanting something, something, where the grapes of wrath are stored. Just the girls, glory, glory, hallelujah. Bum, bum, bum. It's so hysterical. And then they take it so seriously. Like, once that finishes, Flynn's like, you see, we are in harmony. Like, you can't just cut and pretend that that was normal. Pretend that that was not the stupidest, most insane thing you've ever seen. It's great. But also in this episode, we have Ezekiel and Jake wanting to steal the submarine. We have the clipping book bursting into flames. So the clipping book bursts into flames. Big deal. It's a great episode, and it's such a simple one as well. Like, it's not got, it's not alternate universes, it's not time loops, it's not anything crazy like that. It's literally just them going to like a science museum and shenanigans take place, and yet it's one of the best episodes of the series. And that's what I like about the Librarians, is sometimes they take an idea that's so simple and it just really works. Okay, season 3, episode 2, and the Fangs of Death. Practically perfect. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. Um, they describe this episode as evil Pac-Man in the show. They're like, look at them, it's like evil Pac-Man. It's basically a survival horror episode where like everyone starts turning into werewolves, which sounds like it should suck, but it doesn't. It's great. Ezekiel gets like bitten, he starts turning into a werewolf. They're all trying to like escape, but like they don't know who they can trust. And it's just one of those, I love episodes like that where it's like everyone's trapped in a location and they don't know what to do and they don't know like, is it safe? Can we get out of the room? Survival horror type single location episodes is something that I really enjoy. So I really like this one. And the only bad thing about it is there's a guy who I think is trying to do a Scottish accent, but it's coming out vaguely Irish, and I don't know why, because the actor's American. I don't know why they didn't just make him American. I don't know why they decided it'd be a good idea for him to do an accent that he can't do, because it's really jarring. It's such an obviously fake accent. I don't know why they did it. But other than that, I really like this episode, and I love there's a bit in it where they're like, "This doesn't make any sense," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's the Librarians. Nothing has made sense. We are what, 32 episodes in? Nothing has ever made sense. Why are you pretending that it does now?" Okay, this is my first. It could be the only, but this is a Pits of Hell for me. Season 3, episode 3, and the reunion of evil. So that I remember when I watched this episode the first time, when I got to the end, that it was the only time that thus far that I'd been like, I don't think that episode was very good. That episode was very good. And it's the idea is that Jake and Cass are out in like the tundra looking for an artifact, and they get caught in a blizzard, so they go to like a nearby hotel for shelter. But when they get there, they discover that they've accidentally walked into a family reunion of the Jotun, which are the frost giants from Norse mythology. So the frost giants are all here to have a party, um, but they all like have taken like human form. Jake pretends to be this guy called Finkelstein, um, but then they realize the real Finkelstein turns up and they realize that he's not Finkelstein. And Cass has this. She's like absorbed the artifact, and every time someone mentions the name of the artifact, her chest starts glowing, which is really funny. The episode, think the best part of this episode is getting to see the dynamic between Cassandra and Jacob, because we haven't really dealt with it since the first season when they had their kind of feud. They've just sort of been friends since then, but we've never really kind of taken time to like examine their dynamic. And I think, especially at this point in the series where they've got this like conflict over Cassandra thinks that they should use more magic, but Jacob thinks they shouldn't use magic at all, and they're really having this debate, and getting to see them work together and kind of, their just how they interact with each other and the way that they both see the world is really interesting. But I think the overall plot is very weak. And it's, yeah, I don't think it's a particularly strong episode. It's not a bad episode, but it is probably my least favorite, and it's stuck in my mind ever since I watched it the first time. I was like, yeah, the Jotun episode is just not, it's not my thing. But there is a very funny moment where there are a few, like Cassandra pretends to be a Jotun. She sort of befriends one of the Jotun girls who's like a drunk who used to be in love with Finkelstein. Um, and then every time, because her chest starts glowing, that creates some like funny, chaotic moments. It's not the worst. Uh, well, it is. It probably is the worst. But I just mean it's not terrible. But in terms of ranking, it probably is the worst. Okay. The next episode as well, I'm going to put into some episode named um. So, which is a shame because I think season three is a really good season, but I think the problem with season three is it has some very high highs and some very low lows. And Reunion of Evil followed by Self-Fulfilling Prophecy are the low lows. My note for this was an evil swimming pool attacking the school swim team. What is this? Buffy slash Smallville? Because there was an episode of Buffy about an evil swimming pool swim team. There was a swim team episode. And there was an episode of Smallville, I'm pretty sure, involving the swim team. I can't remember what one it was, but I'm sure during the first three seasons there was an episode about like evil kryptonite water or some shit. Um, so I was like, this plot I've seen before, and I don't particularly want to see it again. And I think overall it's not a very strong episode. Um, the whole story is that, what even is the story? It's to do with the lady. She pretends that she's like the cleaner, but she's not the cleaner. And then they all get stuck in like a cube together, and they have to like do Morse code to Jenkins to get freed. It's something to do with the water. The water is like, oh, she's like, I think she's the Oracle of Delphi. That's what she is. She's the Oracle of Delphi, and the water is like from the waters of Delphi or something. It's not a strong episode. It's not great. The twist of like the cleaner thing is, you could kind of tell from the beginning that the cleaner was going to turn out to be the twist. I felt like it was pretty obvious, because why would she be like sweeping in the swimming pool? I don't know. And they were like, you weren't there when we all got taken, which is true. We saw the room and she wasn't there. So I thought it was pretty obvious from the beginning that she was up to something. But I don't know. I don't think it's a particularly strong episode. It's definitely one of the weaker ones for me. Um, I might actually I might actually move it into the pits of hell. I think it actually belongs. I think it's the same quality as the Reunion of Evil. I'm so sorry. Okay, now we're talking. And the Tears of a Clown. I'm going to put this in lots of fun. Um, this is the episode where we have Sean Astin and Felicia Day, and I'm like, this episode would have done bits in the 2000s. Seriously, pairing up those two. Um, so Sean Astin is this like guy who runs a fun fair, and he deliberately runs it all just because he was in love with this girl that Felicia Day played when he was a teenager, and he thinks that she like rejected him, but she didn't. He just thinks that she did. Um, and he's like run this whole evil fun fair ever since with these evil clowns and stuff because he's trying to get her back. It's crazy. And I thought at first, I was like, oh, this episode isn't going to be that good because that's kind of a silly story. But actually, no, it's brilliant. There's the bit with the clown smart car that they all pile out of. Uh, yeah, my comment on that was the smart car, the outfits, dear God. Mermaid Cass, dolphin squeaking while they push her around in a wheelbarrow. Incredible. It's not magic, it's whimsy. And then I'm like, don't correct me. Don't be wrong. It's actually really good. It's such a fun episode. Okay, then we have Trial of the Triangle. Absolutely god tier, straight into the canon. I love this episode. This is also one of these ones where they actually try to be serious, but they do it with such whimsy. Like the whole episode is based around Alice in Wonderland because, like, and that's another thing. Like, remember when like Aura and High School Rules Club did an Alice in Wonderland episode? TV shows are obsessed with doing Alice in Wonderland episodes. I don't get it. It's so funny because I've seen Alice in Wonderland so many times that I think Flynn starts coming downstairs and he's quoting Cabbages and Kings, and I started like quoting it along with him, and I'm like, oh my god, I've seen that film way too many times. But the whole idea is that like Flynn gets sent into this like Alice in Wonderland type world where he has to go through these trials, where he's faced with like the other librarians. And it's a really emotional episode, really getting to the core of Flynn's character, which is so good after like, 3 seasons of this show where we've been kind of trying to like kind of dissect Flynn's character from who he was in the librarian movies to who he is now. This whole idea of him needing to learn to trust other people and to have friends. And it's a really great, a really emotional look at his character. And I just think it's really well done. I think it's really beautiful. Um, and my note on this episode was this episode is a work of art. They managed to do such heavy, emotional episode with so much comedy and whimsy. It's the definition of why this show is a masterpiece. And I think that is so true. That is, I think this episode is one of their best. I think it's one of the best written. I think they did an incredible job getting that story across for Flynn. Um, but doing it in a way that's still like fun and librarians and like it's still funny and quirky and silly, but it really gets to the core of Flynn. Also that incredible scene in the airport where Flynn and Eve have that whole argument in front of security. And he's basically saying like, and you've got the kids, and she's talking to the other librarians, and then she's saying that she doesn't even know how he feels about her, and then he comes out with those iconic lines that this whole fandom knows like the back of their hand of, you want to know how I feel about you, Eve? I've loved you since the day I first laid eyes on you in that German steam tunnel. I love you more than anyone I've ever known, more than anything I've ever learned. I love you more than learning itself. It is incredible. We have never forgotten it. All of the Flea fans know those lines, and it's everything. I love this episode. Okay, then we have and the Curse of Cindy. I'm gonna give this one lots of fun. Um, I've got my note in this. This has to be one of the stupidest plots of the entire series, but it's so funny, and Ezekiel gets to save the day, so I'm here for it. Well, him and an onion. So the plot of this episode is a girl named Cindy who was kicked off a reality show and was really hurt about it. So now she like has a mansion where she like creates potions for this witch, and everyone who sees her falls in love with her. And so she's kind of, it's turned into this like cult of Cindy worshippers. It's such a crazy plot. It's so silly. It's such a stupid plot line, but it really does work. And the twist of it, once again with Ezekiel, the twist of it is that he doesn't fall in love with Cindy because he was already in love with her, because he loved her when she was on that show, and because he has real feelings for her, he's not affected by the spell. And it's really sweet, and they make such a cute couple, and I kind of wish that she got to stick around a bit more. Um, yeah, it's a really fun, silly episode, and Ezekiel gets to be the hero, and I'm always here for Ezekiel getting to be the hero. Okay, and the eternal question. So my comment on this was I have complicated feelings on this episode, but it's so incredibly beautiful. So this is the episodes where Cassandra, they go to this like vampire retreat where they find out that like there's people are dying, people are bursting into flames because like they're being turned into vampires at this vampire wellness spa. So then when they step out in the sunlight, they burst into flames. Crazy. The episode literally starts with the guy on the golf course, and he literally just spontaneously combusts in the middle of the golf course, and then they go to visit his wife to find out what happened, and then she spontaneously combusts. It's crazy. Um, but the episode culminates that uh Cassandra's tumor has become so large that they need to operate. They either remove it or she's going to die, like, imminently. Um, so the episode culminates with Cassandra getting her surgery. The reason I say I have complicated feelings about this episode, so for a start, the way that they'd always kind of talked about her tumor made it seem as if it wasn't operable. Because what doesn't make sense to me is that if her tumor is now so large, they're like, if we don't operate, you'll die. That suggests that it was always operable. It used to be smaller, therefore she could have had it removed years ago. Because she's known about the tumor since she was a teenager. So it's been growing for like what, like 15 years? Cassandra's like about 30, I think. So it makes no sense because if her tumor was like tumors, the bigger they get, they become inoperable. They don't start out inoperable and then become operable later. That's not how tumors work, unless they're shrinking. They're being shrunk by radiation or whatever, and then maybe they become small enough that you can remove them. But she hasn't been getting any treatment. She's not on any drugs. She's on nothing to try and shrink this tumor. So it has been growing since she was a teenager. But for some reason now they can operate on it, even though the surgery is now incredibly dangerous because of how big the tumor is, when they couldn't operate on it when it was smaller. That doesn't make any sense. And I know that I always say, like, nothing in the Librarians makes sense, but it's like, I'm talking about the magic. This is just basic healthcare. Like, there's no magic involved here. This is just them talking about regular hospital treatment. It doesn't make any sense that because I think for me, I'm like, the whole point of why her story works so well and the reason that you feel that, when she's saying that whole thing of like, I know death, I see her every time she looks in the mirror and she doesn't look like you, she looks like me. You feel that because she is going to die. She has a terminal illness that she cannot in any way, shape, or form survive through regular, she thought she had to use magic to save herself because her tumor was a terminal condition. She could not survive. She would die. She said she was planning to take her own life on a specific date because she wanted to be able to go out on her own terms. She was terminally ill. That's the whole point of her character. And why her character is so powerful in so many different points in the series is because she knows that her entire life is on borrowed time. She is going to die. So then for them to turn around this episode and be like, Cassandra, we need to operate. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because that means that she was never actually terminally ill. If the tumor had always been operable, why on earth hadn't she had it operated on? If she'd known about it for like 15 years, it would have been smaller back then. If it was operable then, why didn't she just get it removed? Why on earth are we, all these years down the line, she's been, you know, planning her own death and stuff. The tumor was never actually, if there was always a chance of her being able to have it removed. And she doesn't even need, they remove it, and she doesn't even, I mean, I get that it's a TV show, but like, she doesn't get radiotherapy, she doesn't get chemotherapy. She seems to have all her hair later on in the same episode, so they apparently managed to remove her brain tumor without shaving her head, which is interesting. I'll let that one go, but it's like, her tumor, I know that you get benign tumors in the brain, but like, they're still dangerous. They're not, the tumor itself isn't malignant, but because it's pressing on other parts of the brain, it can still like be dangerous because of like where it sits, but not. So there's no saying that she had cancer specifically. But she doesn't go through any other treatment. They just remove the tumor and she's fine. And it's like, well, if the tumor was that easy to remove, why wasn't it done before? And I feel like that idea, the idea that the tumor was that easy to remove, sort of undermines the entire point of her character up until this point and her whole thing about how she's going to die. If the tumor was always operable and it was never actually as dangerous as they made out, then it kind of undermines the point of her character. At first, I was really uncomfortable with also the fact that at the end of this episode, she discovers that her tumor wasn't. Part of the reason she was worried about the tumor was because she thinks that the tumor is what gives her abilities. But she discovers at the end of the episode that actually it wasn't. At first, I thought that was kind of messed up. I was like, I don't really like that because I think we could have done something interesting with like Cassandra learning a different way to like use her abilities, like, now that her tumor's gone. But I've come around to the idea actually of kind of like the idea that at the very beginning, Flynn says to her that normally people who are 5 sense synesthetes have some kind of brain tumor. Um, but usually, not always. And so I think actually it is kind of a fun idea that she's always been a 5 sense synesthete. She just, but like the tumor was actually pressing on something that made her abilities weaker rather than stronger. I think actually that is quite an interesting idea. I've changed my opinion on that, but I still think that it kind of messes with the lore of her character. I also was kind of like this. This is gonna sound so mean. I was kind of disappointed because I feel like the fact that she was always going to die is such a big part of her character that removing that aspect of her sort of took away a lot of what made Cassandra Cassandra. But I do think that on reflection, having been rewatching season 4, I do think that it's interesting what they do with it. This idea that like she now has this whole other perspective on life because especially we'll get to it, but when she in the Hidden Sanctuary, she is like dealing with a fear of death because up until then she knew she was going to die, so she wasn't afraid of it. But now that she was aware that she could live a normal, like a long life like anyone else, now she's actually afraid of everyday things, and that's like created a whole new anxiety. I think that's really interesting. But I do sometimes think that obviously I don't want her to die from a brain tumor, and especially now that this show is back, I want her to obviously be able to live long enough to be in it, which she will be in season 2. But I do sometimes think that just for them to be able to just, I think if if they had been able to use magic or something to remove it, I think that actually would have been better than just they managed to remove it medically, because then that, I do think that undermines everything that they've told us about her up until that point. But it's a really beautiful episode. It's really beautiful what they do with Cassandra, and the scene when everyone rushes to the hospital gets me every single time. So I am going to give it practically perfect, but I do have things. It's not any higher because I do have my issues, but it's less about the episode itself and about what the episode represents and what it like I say, how it affects the plot up until that point. The episode itself is actually very well done and very well written, but it creates a problem that I don't like. And that's really my only, it's the thing, is it's like I really don't have any criticisms of the Librarians. That is my, that and how the show ends are my only two real bugbears about the whole show, which is pretty good. Okay, moving on, because I've talked for ages now about this. Okay, episode 9 and the fatal separation. I'm gonna give this one lots of fun. I don't remember this one at all either, but I love it for um Pirate Cassandra and Pirate Ezekiel. Charlene getting to be part of the plot again. Um, Justice for Sifu and his banana smoothie. And then also that bit where like Jake and Flynn are trapped in a room and Flynn's like looking for ingredients to create an explosive, but Jake's like, "What? We're gonna bake our way out?" It's a really fun episode. It's definitely not the strongest episode in the world, but getting to see Charlene out in the field kicking ass, getting to see her and Flynn bond again, and then her like finally moving on from this mortal coil at the end, which is really beautiful. And getting to say goodbye to Jenkins and stuff. It's a really nice episode. And then, of course, we have And the Wrath of Chaos, and this is a 10 out of 10 for me. It's going into the tier of God. Um, these I might as well just read you my notes because I've got quite a lot for this one. We have I would die for Fleave, which is true. Let Ezekiel see Mount Rushmore, you losers. True. The CCTV mirror cracks me up. And the history of bad ideas, this is at the top. You and your backup singers. Jenkins, I love you. Flynn playing Tom and Jerry in the library stacks is priceless. Flynn and his trolley full of Flynn and his trolley full of artifacts that could blow up the universe, speeding around the building like it's Mario Kart. I love this episode. I love the whole twist of like they don't know whether or not they can trust Eve, but then her and Flynn were working on it together. Like I say, Flynn speeding around the building with all of these like dangerous artifacts, like it's Mario Kart. Would you call her Vanessa Williams? just absolutely slaying as the DOSA director. Jenkins getting trapped in a box and the librarians having to like figure out how to free him. It's a fantastic episode. I love it. And then, of course, the ending where they finally face Apep and Flynn thinks that he has to die because that's what he was told in the Trial of the Triangle, that he has to sacrifice himself to save the world. And Eve comes in and she's like sobbing her heart out on the floor because she's like, "You said you wouldn't leave again." And I'm like, my Fleeve heart is dying. But then the other librarians come in and give Apep their gifts, and it makes him human, and because he's human, now he can be killed. It kind of is silly. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. Like, Jake gets this, like, gift in the previous episode and then has to give it up in this episode to save them. But you know what? Whatever. Um, yeah, it's kind of bonkers. It doesn't entirely make sense, but I'm here for it. Flynn doesn't die. Fleeve is beautiful. The Fleeve is fleeving. It's a great episode for me.